Okay, so we're diving into hyper-intelligence today.
Hyperintelligence.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
We're going to be talking about self-driving cars, AI robots that can basically think for themselves, and even virtual beings that look so real they could fool you.
Really?
Yeah, we've got a ton of groundbreaking research to dig into,
Okay.
and some really cool real-world examples that'll make you think twice about what's actually possible with all this AI stuff.
I'm ready.
All right, let's jump right in. So let's start with something that's already changing the way we live. Self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars.
Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
have you heard much about those?
Oh, yeah, they're everywhere now, it seems like.
Yeah, they are. I was reading about this guy, Dr. Raj Kumar.
Okay.
He's a total pioneer in self-driving cars.
Mhm.
He's at Carnegie Mellon.
Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the birthplace of this whole technology.
Wow.
And you know what's crazy?
What?
He actually hacked a regular used car and turned it into a self-driving vehicle.
Oh, wow. So, anybody could do that?
I don't know if anybody could do that, but he did it.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think it really highlights how much of this technology hinges on software.
Yeah.
The smarts are in the software, not necessarily the car itself.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So these cars, they're not just following a set path or something.
No.
They're actually using cameras and radar and even 3D maps
Wow.
to make decisions in real time, as they're driving, just like a human driver would.
So it's they're actually thinking.
It seems that way, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's not human thinking, of course, but
Yeah.
it's amazing how they can process all that information.
Yeah, so how does that even work?
Well, you know how AI software,
Yeah.
it's constantly gathering data from all those sensors, right? So it's getting information from the cameras, from the radar,
Okay.
and it's comparing that to this huge database of driving scenarios. It's learned what to do in different situations,
Mm-hmm.
like navigating traffic, avoiding obstacles, things like that.
But is it really safe?
That's the question everybody asks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading about that accident in Arizona
Oh, yeah.
where a self-driving car hit a pedestrian.
Right.
That was pretty scary.
Yeah, unfortunately, accidents do happen, and it's a reminder that the technology is still being developed.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. And teaching a machine to react perfectly in every single situation, especially when human lives are at stake, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah, so I mean, what are researchers doing to make these cars safer?
Well, one thing they're doing is they're training the AI on even more data,
Oh, okay.
way more data, including edge cases and weird, unexpected situations.
Stuff that a person might be able to handle, but a computer wouldn't?
Exactly, things that haven't been programmed in yet.
Okay.
And they're also working on developing systems that can actually explain their reasoning.
Explain their reason.
Yeah, so the AI can say, hey, I did this because of this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that allows engineers to understand, how the AI is making decisions and helps them identify potential flaws.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting inside the mind of the machine.
So it sounds like there's still a lot of work to do before we see self-driving cars everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. But the progress we've seen just in the past few years is remarkable.
Yeah.
And, I can definitely see a future where these cars are just the norm, making our roads safer and more efficient.
For sure. Okay, hold on to your hat because this next one is wild.
Okay.
We're going underground.
Underground.
Literally.
Literally underground.
Yeah, I was reading about these twin robots, R1 and R2.
R1 and R2?
Uh-huh.
Like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
And guess who built them?
Who?
Carnegie Mellon again.
Carnegie Mellon. Those guys are everywhere.
They're doing some really cool stuff.
Wow.
So these robots, they're designed for search and rescue missions.
Search and rescue.
Yeah.
That's important.
It is in places that are just too dangerous for humans, like collapsed mines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's nightmare fuel right there.
I would not want to be down there.
No.
So these robots, they can go where we can't.
Right. And what makes them so cool
Yeah.
is that they can actually navigate and map unknown environments.
So they don't need a map to get around?
Nope, they make their own map.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, instead of relying on a pre-existing map, they
Uh-huh.
use this technology called LiDAR.
LiDAR, what is that?
So LiDAR, it's
Yeah.
like radar but with lasers.
Ooh, lasers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it uses lasers to measure distances and create a 3D map of the surroundings.
Wow.
So as the robots are exploring, they're constantly building their own map.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're adapting to changes, they're figuring out where they are,
Wow.
and Get this? They even drop signal repeaters to create like a Wi-Fi trail.
What? So it's like they're leaving breadcrumbs, but it's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's like a breadcrumb trail of internet access.
That is brilliant.
It's super clever
Wow.
because it solves the problem of communication in these like really hazardous environments,
Ah, I see.
right? So imagine these robots are exploring a collapsed building after an earthquake.
Okay.
Not only are they searching for survivors,
Yeah.
but they're also providing a communication lifeline to the outside world.
That's incredible. Like
Oh,
a lifeline.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not just about, finding people. It's about letting people know where they are and how to get to them.
Yeah, and giving them hope, too,
Yeah, absolutely.
that they're going to be rescued.
So these robots could be saving lives in the most dangerous situations.
It's really amazing to think about.
Yeah, and what's cool is that it's not just about search and rescue either.
What else?
Think about like exploring uncharted territories,
Like where?
like the ocean floor,
Oh, okay.
deep caves, places that are like really hard for us to get to.
Yeah.
These robots could be our eyes and ears in places we've never been able to reach before.
That's incredible. Like a whole new way of exploring the world.
Okay, prepare to be amazed because this next one,
Another one.
this one takes the cake. We're talking swarms of drones.
Swarms of...
Hundreds, even thousands of tiny robots
Wow.
working together like a hive mind.
Like a hive mind that's a little freaky.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky, but it's also super cool.
So how does it even work?
So there's this guy, Dr. Vijay Kumar.
Okay.
He's at the University of Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and he's leading the way in this field.
Okay.
And his team is taking inspiration from nature.
From nature.
Yeah, flocks of birds, schools of fish,
Uh-huh.
and they're applying those principles to robotics.
Wow. So like the drones are copying what animals do?
Yeah, so like each drone is kind of like an individual,
Okay.
but they're all working together
Yeah.
as part of this larger swarm.
Oh, I see.
So they're communicating with each other, they're
Yeah.
coordinating their movements.
We're all talking to each other.
Yeah, and they're achieving these complex goals as a team.
So like what kind of goals are we talking about?
Okay, imagine a swarm of drones working together
Okay.
to put out a forest fire.
Wow.
Right. Each drone plays a specific role,
Huh.
adjusts its position based on what the other drones are doing,
Mm-hmm.
and they extinguish the flames from like multiple angles.
That's amazing.
Right.
Much more efficient than just one drone trying to do it all.
Yeah.
In a plane or something.
Right.
Wow.
It's incredible.
It seems like the possibilities are endless with this swarm technology.
Yeah. I mean, you could use them for precision agriculture,
Okay.
environmental monitoring, search and rescue operations, like all sorts of stuff.
Really anything that needs a lot of coverage,
But,
a lot of different perspectives.
right. So it's like taking the power of teamwork
Mm-hmm.
and multiplying it by like 1,000.
Wow. So we've seen robots that can drive,
Yep.
robots that can explore, and robots that can work together in swarms.
Mhm.
But what about robots that can actually work with humans?
That's a great question, and that's what we're going to talk about next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's a field that's like rapidly advancing as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's this Dr. Julie Shaw. She's at MIT,
MIT.
and she's doing some really fascinating work on human-robot collaboration.
Human-robot collaboration.
Yeah, so her team is developing robots that can observe human behavior,
Observe human behavior.
learn new tasks, and even anticipate our next move.
Anticipate our next move.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Well, they use a combination of sensors, cameras, and AI algorithms
Okay.
to track human movements, analyze patterns, and predict what we're going to do next.
So it's like they're reading our minds almost?
Yeah, it's kind of like mind reading.
Wow.
So imagine a robot that can pass you a tool before you even realize you need it.
That would be amazing.
Great.
Especially if you're like working on a car or something, you need a wrench.
Yeah. Or if you're like a surgeon.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and the robot knows exactly what instrument you need next.
So it could be a really helpful assistant.
Yeah, totally. Or it could adjust its position to avoid getting in your way.
That's good too, because robots can be kind of clunky sometimes.
Yeah, they can. So it's like these robots are becoming more like teammates
Yeah.
than just tools.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and the potential benefits are huge.
Like what?
Like boosting productivity in manufacturing, assisting surgeons in the operating room,
About.
providing care for the elderly.
Oh, yeah.
Like all sorts of things.
So collaborative robots could really change the way we work and live.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you wonder, what happens when robots become so advanced that they start to blur the lines between machine and human,
That's a good question.
right? Like where does the robot end and the human begin?
That's a really deep question.
It is. It
I
really,
mean, we've seen robots that can learn and adapt and even collaborate,
yeah.
but can a machine really be self-aware?
Right. Like, can it develop a sense of self the way we humans do?
That's consciousness, right?
Yeah, you're talking about consciousness.
Yeah.
I was reading about this guy, Dr. Hod Lipson.
Okay.
He's at Columbia University,
Mm-hmm.
and he's building robots that can actually learn about their own bodies and
Right.
develop this kind of self-awareness.
That's interesting.
It's really wild.
So what's he doing exactly?
Well, he's doing all sorts of crazy experiments.
Okay.
But one that really stood out to me was
Yeah.
he had a robot complete a task while blindfolded.
Blindfolded.
Yeah, like totally blindfolded.
How is that even possible?
Well, the robot had to rely solely on its internal understanding of its body
Okay.
and its surroundings.
So it's like the robot had to imagine where it was in space.
Yeah, it's like the robot had developed this mental model of itself,
Oh, wow.
a kind of internal map that allowed it to navigate the world.
That is mind-boggling.
It is, right?
It really is.
It raises these profound questions about, like, the nature of consciousness.
Yeah, like if a machine can develop a sense of self, does that mean it can also experience emotions,
Yeah.
have beliefs, even make its own choices?
Yeah, like, where does the machine end and the person begin, you know?
That's a big question.
It is, and I'm not sure I have the answers.
I don't think anybody does yet, but
Yeah.
these are definitely questions we need to be asking as we get deeper into this whole hyperintelligence thing.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about something a little less philosophical,
Right.
but equally fascinating.
I'm listening.
Okay, so I was reading about this guy, Hao Li.
Hao Li.
Yeah, he's at Pinscreen,
Pinscreen.
and he's creating these hyper-realistic digital avatars.
Digital avatars.
Yeah, and we're not talking about, like, cartoon characters here.
Okay.
These are, like, digital representations of people that can mimic our every expression.
Really, even the subtle ones.
Yeah, even, like,
Uh-huh.
the tiny little twitches and micro movements.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is. The technology is crazy.
So how does it work?
Well, it's this combination of computer graphics, artificial intelligence, and motion capture.
Wow, so they're really using all the tools.
They are, and the results are amazing.
So have you seen this in action?
Oh, yeah. I saw this demo where he transformed himself into Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah, and I swear it was like watching her come back to life.
Wow,
It was kind of eerie,
I bet.
but also amazing.
So what are the possibilities with this technology?
Oh, man, the possibilities are endless.
Like what?
Imagine having a virtual meeting with someone on the other side of the world,
Okay,
but it feels like you're sitting right across the table from them.
that would be pretty cool.
Right.
No more travel.
Yeah, or imagine a virtual teacher
Okay.
who can interact with students in a more engaging and personalized way.
Oh, right, because they can respond to the students' facial expressions and emotions.
Exactly.
Ooh.
So it could revolutionize education, entertainment, healthcare, like, you name it.
That's a lot of potential.
Yeah, it is. But of course,
Sure.
there's also the potential for misuse.
Oh, right. Like what?
I mean, deepfakes are becoming so sophisticated.
They are?
It's getting harder and harder to tell real videos from fabricated ones.
That's a little scary.
It is. So this technology could be used to spread misinformation, manipulate people,
Right.
even create, like, entirely fake events.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate tool for propaganda.
Yeah, so we have to be careful.
Right.
We have to be critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Question what we see online.
Don't believe everything you see.
Exactly, and be aware of the potential for deception.
That's good advice.
Okay, so we've talked about robots that can learn robots that can be self-aware, and digital avatars that can fool the human eye.
That's a lot of robots.
It is a lot of robots.
What about robots that actually look and move like us?
You're talking about androids.
Yeah, androids.
Yeah, Matt McMullen.
Okay.
He's the founder of Realbotics,
Realbotics.
and he's at the forefront of this field. He's creating these lifelike robots that are designed to be companions, helpers, even romantic partners.
Romantic partners.
Yeah,
That's getting into some interesting territory.
it is, right?
A little creepy, maybe?
Yeah, it's a little creepy.
But interesting.
But McMullen believes that these androids can fulfill a genuine need
A genuine need for...
for companionship and intimacy,
Oh, okay.
especially for people who are lonely or isolated.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm still not sure I'm comfortable with the idea of robots as romantic partners,
Yeah, I'm not sure I am either.
but I can see how they could be beneficial in other ways.
Like what?
Imagine an android that could provide care for the elderly,
Okay.
help them with daily tasks, and provide companionship.
That's a good idea.
Right, because a lot of elderly folks are lonely
Yeah.
and they need help.
So these robots could really improve their quality of life.
Yeah, they could, but
What?
it does raise these ethical questions.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what does it mean to form a bond with a machine?
Right. Is that real?
Yeah, and what are the implications for human relationships?
Yeah, we're going to start replacing human connection with robots?
Yeah, like, are we going to become so reliant on robots that we forget how to interact with each other?
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, so these are like really complex questions
Definitely.
that we need to grapple with as this technology continues to advance.
It seems like this whole hyperintelligence thing is raising a lot of ethical and philosophical questions.
Yeah, it really is.
That we need to start thinking about now,
Now, before it's too late?
or before we get in over our heads.
Exactly. Yeah, it feels like we're on the verge of like this whole new era.
Yeah.
One where the line between human and machine just gets blurrier and blurrier.
It's definitely a crazy time to be alive.
It is.
I mean, so much is changing so fast with all this AI stuff.
Right. And I think it's important to remember that technology is a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
Right. Like a hammer can build a house or it can break a window.
Exactly. So the question is, how do we make sure that hyperintelligence is used ethically and responsibly?
Yeah, it's the million-dollar question.
It is.
So
Yeah.
what can we do? Like, what steps can we take to make sure this all goes in a good direction?
Well, I think one of the most important things is transparency.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to understand how these AI systems work,
Okay.
how they make decisions, what kind of biases might be baked into them.
Right, because if we're going to trust these systems with important stuff,
Yeah,
we got to be able to see what's going on under the hood.
exactly. Like if a self-driving car makes a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
we need to know why.
Right, so we can fix it.
Right. So transparency is key.
Definitely.
And I think that goes hand in hand with accountability.
Accountability.
Yeah, like we need to have clear guidelines and regulations
Okay.
for how AI is developed and used.
Mhm.
And there need to be ways to like oversee these systems and
Wow.
hold people accountable if something goes wrong.
So it's like we need a whole new set of rules for this age of hyperintelligence.
Yeah, basically.
That's a big task.
It is. And it's not something that like scientists and engineers can do on their own.
Right.
We need ethicists, social scientists, policymakers,
Okay.
and the public too.
So it's a conversation we need to have as a society.
Yeah, like what kind of future do we want to create with AI?
Right. What are our values and how do we make sure those values are reflected in the technology?
Exactly. And I think education is a huge part of that.
Education.
Yeah, we need to make sure that everybody has at least a basic understanding of AI,
Okay.
what it can do, what it can't do,
Mhm.
and how it's going to impact our lives.
So we need to be teaching AI literacy, not just to computer science people, but to everyone.
Yeah, basically everyone needs to be AI literate.
That's a big challenge.
It is, but it's important because it's about empowering people
Yeah.
to engage in these conversations about AI,
Right.
to think critically about the information they're seeing.
And to advocate for the responsible use of AI.
Exactly. It's about giving people the tools they need to navigate this new world.
It seems like one of the biggest challenges is going to be finding the right balance
Yeah.
between encouraging innovation
Mm-hmm.
and regulating this technology.
Yeah, we don't want to stifle progress. But we also don't want to create something that we lose control of.
That's the tightrope we have to walk.
It is.
And it's not going to be easy.
No, it's not.
But I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
I think we can figure this out if we approach it with open minds and a willingness to work together.
Yeah. I agree.
And we have to keep human values at the forefront of this whole thing.
Absolutely. So we've explored some pretty amazing stuff today.
We have.
Self-driving cars, self-aware robots, lifelike androids.
It's mind-blowing.
It is, and it's clear that hyperintelligence is going to have a huge impact on our world.
Yeah, but we still don't know exactly what that impact is going to look like.
Right. It's a future that's full of potential, both good and bad.
But ultimately, the future of AI is up to us.
Yeah,
We have the power to shape it, to guide it, to make sure it serves humanity.
that's a powerful thought.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about.
Okay.
What role do you want to play in shaping the future of hyperintelligence? What steps can you take to make sure this technology is used for good?
Yeah, because the future is in our hands.
Yeah, let's make it a future worth creating.